Let's have some more news. Villager arrested after fleeing an altercation at the village's hospital. Driver ticketed after attempting a U-turn in a roundabout. A candidate for sainthood in the Catholic Church. Unlicensed driver from Venezuela, Mexico, and Guatemala in the villages. Nervous neighbors keep a watchful eye on a hole that opened up on their street. A suspect has been caught after tying up and robbing a couple in the villages. A villager was arrested after allegedly picking a fight with the restaurant staff. An intoxicated woman arrested after attacking cops at a village's restaurant. A grandson with a history of tormenting village's executives lands back in jail on new charges. The Florida Chamber Foundation predicts population growth will slow a bit in 2024. Lori Morgan has been booked to perform at the Sharon. How many holes in ones of golf did we get this week? Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. This week's news is brought to you by my YouTube and Patreon members. Let's have some more news. I want to take a shout out to the Kentucky State Police for sending me this hat. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys take care of yourself. Be safe. A villager was arrested after fleeing an altercation at the UF Health, the village's hospital. Donald Michael Latessa, 65, who lives in the Mangrove Villas, was at the hospital on Thursday when he began shouting profanities at a woman who was at the hospital visiting a patient. The woman took out her phone to record Latessa's behavior, prompting him to knock the phone from her hand. The phone hit the head of a patient who was visited by the woman and Latessa. The patient suffered a bump on the head. The hospital security guard escorted Latessa from the premises. He left in a gray Ford Mustang. He was taken into custody on Sunday on 2 felony counts of battery. A criminal history check revealed Latessa had previously been convicted of assault in Ohio. He was initially held without bond. I don't know, man. I just don't know anymore. A driver was ticketed after attempting a U-turn and crashing into a pickup truck in a roundabout in the villages. I don't understand how these roundabouts can be such a problem. The driver of a 4-door passenger car was traveling at 3:25 p.m. Monday eastbound on Stillwater Trail at Morse Boulevard when the driver attempted a U-turn, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Who makes a U-turn in a roundabout? Who makes a U-turn in a roundabout? Just keep driving, go in a circle, and come back to your exit and then... Why am I talking? Nobody's going to listen anyway. The car collided with a pickup, which was also eastbound on Stillwater Trail. There were no injuries. The driver of the car was ticketed on a charge of careless driving. Father Nelson Baker is a candidate for sainthood in the Catholic Church and founded Our Lady of Victory Basilica, a national shrine in Lackawanna, New York. In February, villagers will have the opportunity to be part of the legacy. Baker, who died in 1936 after 60 years in a priesthood, organized the Association of Our Lady of Victory. It has helped thousands in poverty and need in western New York and throughout the country. Reverend David LaPuma is the current president of the OLV organizations, and he will be in the villages on Sunday, February 25, from 4 to 6:30 p.m. for the reception in Rohan Recreation Center. Villagers Mark and Kathy Gasper helped organize the event. Those interested can RSVP Shannon Donovan at 716-828-9610 or sdonovan@olbcharities.org. More than 18,000 children, adolescents, adults, and families are cared for by the staff at OLBHS and its affiliates, according to the church. Over 50,000 donors provide critical financial and spiritual support, the church states. And historically, more than 30,000 people visit the basilica each year from around the country. In 1987, Father Baker's cause for canonization began when he was named a servant of God by the Vatican. In 2011, Pope Benedict XVI named him Venerable Nelson Baker. Lackawanna Church representatives say they remain in close contact with the Vatican and believe that someday Father Baker will be named a saint. For more information, you can go to www.olvbasilica.org/the Father Baker story. I'm not Catholic. I have a lot of friends who are. I know that being given sainthood is a big deal. A Pennsylvania snowbird has been arrested on a warrant as a result of a 2023 crash in a roundabout. I just don't get it. Thomas Allen Richards, 74, of the Villages of Monarch Grove, was arrested Thursday on a warrant charging him with driving under the influence. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $2,000 bond. He had been at the wheel of a gray 2020 Mercedes GLC 300 utility vehicle at 3:16 p.m. April 16th when he crashed in a roundabout at Marshbend Trail and Corbin Trail near the entrance of the village of McClure. Richard, who was identified by his Pennsylvania driver's license, was conscious but not alert. He suffered minor superficial scrapes on his legs, arms, and head. He had been heading south of Marshbend Trail and was exceeding the speed limit. He was unable to navigate the roundabout and ran into it, striking vegetation and a one-way sign, shearing it from the post. His Mercedes went on to strike a tree and landscaping in the roundabout, causing about $25,000 in damage. An empty bottle of vodka was found in his Mercedes. An ambulance from the village's public safety department transported Richard to UF Health Leesburg Hospital for treatment of injuries suffered in the crash. A blood sample was taken at the hospital, and after analysis, it was determined that Richard had a potentially toxic blood alcohol level of, oh my God, 0.440. Oh man. Richard purchased his home at 1682 Sarah Kenneth Pass in 2021 for $769,000. He received a tax bill in Harrisburg, PA. Here's an update. I won't read the whole thing, but here's an update on a guy that's got some disturbing problems. He's a veteran, but he's been arrested here many times. He does strange things. A disturbed Air Force veteran who last year terrorized neighbors in the villages has landed back behind bars. Brian Kessinger, 55, who previously lived in the Ashland Villas in the village of Calumet Grove, was booked Friday at the Marion County Jail following his arrest on a warrant charging him with theft. He had taken his Ford Ranger truck to a Walmart in Ocala in November for new tires, according to the arrest report. He gave a key to a service technician and went into the store where he purchased several items. After the work on his truck had been completed and it was parked outside the garage, Kessinger got into the truck and used a second key to start it. He drove away and did not pay for the new tires, valued at $566. A representative of the store phoned Kessinger and said he was out of town. He offered to use a credit card to pay over the phone, but the store representative said the credit card purchase could not be transacted over the phone. A Marion County Sheriff's deputy attempted several times to call Kessinger, but he eventually blocked the deputy's calls. Bad move. Last year, Kessinger was ordered to get a mental health evaluation and make restitution to his neighbors in the villages. Neighbors endured Kessinger's bizarre behavior, which included ringing neighborhood doorbells, revving his truck engine, spray painting the villa road in front of his house, and menacing neighbors with threatening, obscene language. Residents had described keeping guns and knives handy, as they said they were fearful of Kessinger. An unlicensed driver from Venezuela was arrested after a traffic stop on US 301. Hannah Arturo Zambrano Menuz, 35, of Summerfield, was driving a black Toyota Camry at about 7 p.m. Saturday on US 301 in Oxford when he was pulled over for an inoperable tag light. The name will be in the picture. During a traffic stop, Zambrano Munoz indicated that he has been in the United States for about 5 months and does not have a driver's license. He was arrested on a charge of driving without a license and ticketed for an inoperable tag light. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on a $500 bond. Nervous neighbors were keeping a watchful eye after a hole opened up on a residential street in the Villages. Sumter County Public Works was notified at approximately 2:15 p.m. Tuesday of a depression in the roadway in the 800 block of Livingston Loop in the village of Lynn Haven. Operations responded to the depression that was approximately 3 feet to 4 feet wide and 3 feet to 4 feet deep that had been created by a storm pipe failure, said Michael Bryant, Assistant Director of the Public Works for Sumter County. Livingston Loop was temporarily closed, but was reopened at about 4:15 p.m. Tuesday. Community Watch assisted the county in blocking traffic from the area in which the depression had appeared. The Public Works crew compacted the roadway with lime rock and had the county's pipe contractor camera the pipe and make the necessary repairs to the stormwater structure, Brian added. Asphalt repairs will be made later this week. A woman was arrested on a historic site of the Villages after drinking led to an altercation. Tracy Beatrice Horton, 57, waved down a police officer at about 5 p.m. Saturday at her home in the village of Silver Lake. Horton says she and her on-again, off-again live-in man friend had gotten into a verbal argument after they went out drinking together. She said her man friend had moved out 2 weeks earlier. During the argument, the man got out his phone and began to record Horton's actions. She smacked the phone out of his hand because she didn't believe he had the right to record. There are a lot of people that think you ain't got that right, but they are wrong. The man said he and Horton went out and had tried to make amends with the mutual acquaintance, but Horton became upset and the two began arguing on the ride home. Things escalated upon their arrival back at their residence. He threatened to call 911 and Horton responded by slapping his hand, causing him to drop the cell phone. When he began to report the altercation, she smacked the phone out of his hand again. He retreated into the residence and locked the door behind him. When an officer spoke to the man, he showed the officer the cut he had suffered on his hand during the fracas. He signed an intent to prosecute form. Horton was arrested on charges of battery and depriving use of 911.
The New York native
was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $2,000 bond. I am going to refrain. You guys remember a story we did here a while back about a couple up in Calumet Grove area, I believe, that got tied up and they were robbed and they were looking for this guy. It's been going on for a while. Well, apparently they have a picture of the guy now and they have a lead and they are asking for any help that they can get to catch this guy. And here's a picture of the guy. I'll show it to you. A suspect is being sought after tying up and robbing a couple in their home in the Villages. The Marion County Sheriff's Office has announced that it is seeking 56-year-old Robert Leroy Connor II, who is wanted on warrants charging him with home invasion, robbery, false imprisonment, and grand theft auto. A DNA sample has been analyzed and determined to be a match for Connor, who has a long criminal history. The home invasion occurred on June 12th in the 7500 block of Southeast 172nd Street, Fieldcrest Street in the village of Calumet Grove. Connor knocked on the door of the home, and it was answered by a couple in their 80s. Connor was sweating profusely and asked them for a drink of water. The couple gave him some water. He then asked to borrow their phone and some cash. I want you to follow this. Again, the couple gave him a few dollars and allowed him to make a call. However, Connor then demanded more money and wanted to know the victim's bank account information. He then produced a weapon and began tying up the couple, even tying one victim to a wheelchair. While Connor was rummaging through the home, the husband and wife were able to break free, and then when Connor went to the garage, they locked the door behind him. Connor then tried kicking the door open before stealing their car and leaving. Their car was recovered at a nearby Orange Blossom Hills community on the County Road 42. DNA samples and fingerprints were obtained from the vehicle as well as the home. Connor was released from state prison on December 8, 2022 after serving time of charges of fraud, dealing with stolen property, and being in possession of a weapon following a felony conviction. Anyone with information about Connor's whereabouts can call 352-732-9111. If you wish to remain anonymous, You can call Crime Stoppers of Marion County at 352-368-STOP, 352-368-7867, and mention tip number 24-04. There's a lot of things that can be said here about mistakes that couple made and everything, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just glad that now they know who they're looking for, and we'll get this guy off the street, hopefully. Here's an update on one we done, I think, last week. A serial shoplifter has been sentenced in heists at Target and Publix in the Villages. Leanna Reitz, 32, of the Cove Apartments, was placed on probation for 3 years this week in Lake County Court after pleading no contest to charges of theft. Reitz, who has a long criminal history, has been placed on probation. She was arrested in the theft of $186.80 in merchandise at Publix at La Plaza Grande, which is up by Spanish Springs. Last year, she was arrested on fleeing with $1,348 in merchandise from Target at Rolling Acres Plaza, which is also up by Spanish Springs. So that's the update on her. An unlicensed driver from Mexico was arrested on a drunk driving charge with Bud Light in his pickup. Geraldo Gomez. That's what it says. Is his middle and last name the same name? Villages News? Is that a typo or what? Gerardo Gomez, 21, of Webster, was driving a black Ford pickup in the early morning hours of Wednesday on County Road 471 when he was spotted swerving across the line. According to Sumter County Sheriff's Office, a deputy attempted to initiate a traffic stop, but Gomez accelerated rapidly before turning into a driveway and fleeing on foot. He was found hiding in a tall, grassy, wooded area. He was identified by his identification card from Mexico. He does not have a Florida driver's license, but previously was issued a Florida identification number, which showed an active suspension for failure to pay traffic fines. It appeared Gomez had been drinking, and a half-empty Bud Light beer can was found in the center console of his pickup. There were also several open beer cans and bottles in the truck. He struggled through field sobriety exercise and provided breath samples that registered .224 and .234 blood alcohol content. He was charged and arrested on driving under the influence, fleeing to elude law enforcement, resisting arrest, and driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $6,650 bond. A villager was arrested after allegedly picking a fight with staff at a restaurant because he believed they had conspired to steal his golf cart. Stephen Edward Suro, 73, of the village of Tamron Grove, at about 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, went into the kitchen at Cody's Original Roadhouse at Lake Sumter Landing when he was stopped by a female employee who explained that customers are not allowed in the food preparation area, according to an arrest report from Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Instead of leaving, Suro, who stands 6 feet tall and weighs 216 pounds, used his open palm to strike the woman in the nose. Suro began to scream at the other restaurant staffers and tried to fight with them as well. The Boston native fled the restaurant. He was found walking near City Fire. Suro, who admitted he had consumed an alcoholic beverage before leaving his home on Dividing Creek Path, denied hitting anyone. He said he believed the business at Lake Sumter Landing had taken his golf cart and the employees were in on the scheme. His right knuckle was slightly red and swollen. He was arrested on charges of battery and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Servo and his wife purchased their home in 2014 for $455,000. They also own a patio villa in the Sawgrass Villas that they purchased in 2016 for $185,000. A speeding driver in a truck pulling a trailer was arrested at the village of Finney. Levi Brandon Cole, 39, of Summerfield, was driving a black truck with a cracked windshield at about 12:30 p.m. Wednesday, when he was clocked at 55 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone in the area of Warm Springs Avenue and Finney Way, according to the arrest report. The license plate on the trailer had expired. During a traffic stop, Cole admitted he did not have a valid license. The officer found that Cole, who has a long criminal history record, has had multiple suspensions and revocations of his driver's license. He was arrested on a felony charge of driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and a $5,000 bond. It doesn't say he was released. An unlicensed driver from Guatemala landed in jail after a traffic stop. Arulo Itzep Baton, name will be on the picture, 32 of Fort Myers, was driving a silver Toyota van at about 4:30 p.m. Wednesday when he was pulled over on County Road 466 in Oxford, according to the arrest report. During a traffic stop, Itzep Baton produced a passport and identification card from Guatemala. He indicated he has been living in Florida for 3 years but does not have a driver's license issued in the United States. He was arrested on a charge of driving without a license. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $150 bond. Oh, this just in. I should have read a little further. The guy they're looking for, they found him. They captured him. A suspect has been captured after allegedly tied up and robbed a couple last year at their home in the Villages. The Marion County Sheriff's Office has announced that it has captured 56-year-old Robert Leroy Connor II, who was wanted on warrants charging him with home invasion, robbery, false imprisonment, grand theft auto. He was being held without bond at the Marion County Jail. Home invasion occurred on June 12th in the 7500 block of Southeast 172nd Fieldcrest Street in the village of Calumet Grove. Bravo. Glad we got that guy off the road. An intoxicated woman was arrested after allegedly attacking law enforcement officers at a restaurant in the Villages. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies were called at about 7:15 p.m. Thursday to Johnny Rockets at Lake Sumter Landing, where 33-year-old Janie Lynn Bingham of Fruitland Park was yelling profanities and causing a disturbance. Nothing like acting like a lady. The deputies persuaded Bingham to step outside, but she threw her drink into a bush and refused to pick up the cup. She began singing loudly and got into the proximity of a deputy's face. She continued to yell random utterances. She pulled away as deputies attempted to place her in wrist restraints. They assisted her to the ground to gain control of the situation. Assisted. She kicked the deputy who attempted to search her for contraband. She also spit at the deputy. When they got Bingham into the squad car, she kicked at the rear passenger window of the vehicle. A criminal history check revealed Bingham had been convicted in 2022 of battery on a law enforcement officer in Kissimmee, or as you northerners like to call it, Kissimmee. Just joking. In 2014, she was convicted of battery in Daytona Beach. Bingham was arrested on charges of disorderly intoxication, battery on a law enforcement officer, and resisting arrest. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center, where she was initially held without bond. Whew. Lady, you got an anger problem. Here's another one of them stories I'm reading only because it shows the problems we can get into when your streets are open to the public. Emergency personnel were summoned after a woman was found passed out in a pickup at a postal station in the Villages. The Sumter County Sheriff's Office and the Villages Public Safety Department responded after the woman, later identified as 50-year-old Leanne Renee Petrolak of Ocklawaha, was found at 12:40 a.m. Friday in a white Dodge pickup truck in the parking lot of Tierra del Sol Postal Station. The truck was running and Petrolak was breathing but not awake, according to the arrest report. A clear glass pipe, commonly used for smoking illegal narcotics, was on her lap. A small clear bag which contained methamphetamine was also found in the truck. In addition, there was a cigarette carton which contained a brown wax substance that tested positive to heroin, and morphine pills were found in Petrolak's pocket. She was arrested on 3 felony counts of drug possession and 1 misdemeanor count of possession of drug equipment. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on $8,000 bond. You hear me say that town a lot, Ocklawaha, and I always make fun when I say it. I always pronounce it kind of, like Ocklawaha. If you really pay attention, I don't know anything about Ocklawaha. I think maybe I've been through it, but I've never really spent any time there. There seems to be a lot of people in Ocklawaha that's on drugs. Seems like a troubled area to me. Remember that guy that had a girlfriend and he broke up with her, or she broke up with him, and he got mad and thought he'd get even. He climbed up on top of her car to take a dump, and the video camera took surveillance of it. The police arrested him. Remember that guy? Then they arrested him again because he was harassing her new boyfriend or something. He's back in the news. Woo, look at this guy. Man, oh man. Is it me, or does it look like his nose is broke? Woo, son. Give it up. A grandson living in a home in the Villages With a history of tormenting an executive in the village's management, has landed behind bars on new charges. Jeremy Robert Powell, 31 of the village of Sable Chase, was being held this weekend at the Marion County Jail on charges of driving under the influence and driving under the influence with property damage. The arrest report was not available. Powell had been free on a $4,000 bond following his December 8 arrest on 2 counts of criminal mischief. In that instance, Powell allegedly vandalized vehicles owned by brothers Michael and Matt Hoofer, executives with commercial property management. Their vehicles had been parked at Brownwood when the alleged vandalism occurred. The commercial property management office is located in Brownwood. Michael Hoover is a former Community Department Development 13 supervisor, and his father, Bobby Hoover, is a supervisor on the powerful Village Center Community Development District Board. The vandalism cases are still pending in Sumter County. Powell lost his job as a leasing agent at the Lofts of Brownwood after an arrest in 2023 after defecating on Michael Hoover's vehicle, which had been parked at his home at Oxford Oaks. At the time, Hoover suggested to the police that Powell's actions might have been prompted by a romantic rivalry. Powell was placed on probation as a result of that incident. All of Powell's arrest reports list his address at 2010 Ridge Spring Drive in the Villages. The home had been owned by his grandfather, who passed away last year. The home is now in the name of Powell's mother and her 2 sisters. You guys make out of that what you want. I've expressed my opinion about that kind of thing. This is an update. Do you remember the guy that was unkept? He had 2, if I remember right, 2 different kind of shoes on. He drove a Tesla car. He was going to a drive-through burger place or something. The cops were watching him and he wasn't doing well. They arrested the guy. He was drunk. Anyway, this is an update on him. A Tesla driving villager who was arrested last year while wearing mismatched shoes got a break in his drunk driving case. James Liu, 72, of the village of Gilchrist, pleaded no contest to a charge of reckless driving, bargained down from a charge of driving under the influence. This past week in Lake County Court, he was placed on probation for 1 year in order to perform 50 hours of community service. He was arrested September 12th after a tipster called law enforcement to report spotting Liu at the ABC Fine Wine and Spirit store in Lady Lake. The caller said Liu could barely hold the alcohol he was purchasing. The caller provided a dispatcher with the license plate number and a description of the Tesla that Liu was driving, which left the liquor store and went through the drive-up of nearby Arby's, yes. The caller noted that Liu had messy hair and it looked like he had slept in his clothing. Yeah, he looked rather unkempt, as my mother would say. Well, this is a long one. I'm not going to read all of this. I'll read some basic things here. It's titled, Florida Chamber Foundation Predicts Population Growth Will Slow a Bit in 2024. I'm not seeing evidence of it. The Florida Chamber Foundation unveiled its 2024 economic and demographic predictions indicating that population growth will slow a bit, but job growth will continue to lead the nation. Florida leads the nation in several important categories. Annual job growth will continue to outpace the nation. Florida's job growth in 2023 remained an average of 1.1% higher than the national level and has been slower than the U.S. since 2017. Rapid economic growth in many areas of Florida's economy, as well as high levels of population growth, fuels the prediction that Florida will remain on top of the country in job growth. You notice every state says that. Every state governor has the same report. Things look great here. But yet the people we talk to say, we can't sell our homes, the price of everything's too high, taxes are getting higher, insurance is going crazy. That's what you hear. That's not the reports always tell you, but that's what you hear. Florida will continue growing at a faster pace than other states. Florida's GDP grew 9.3% over 2023, the fastest rate in the country. That's funny. I thought the governor of California said that. This was not only the #1 growth rate in the United States, but almost double the growth rate of New York. Looking back further, Florida has the fastest growth over the last 4 years, the long-term trend that we expected to continue in 2024. Florida's economic growth will remain positive, but will slow to more sustainable levels. With national economics split on the potential of a national recession in 2024, the Florida Chamber's Foundation does not predict that Florida will experience a recession. Florida's GDP is expected to grow by 7% higher than the national average. There will be a small interest rate cut towards the second half of 2024. The Florida Chambers Foundation expects possible interest rate cuts in the second half of the year. However, the minor cuts are not anticipated to make a large impact on inflation in Florida, as inflation rates in parts of Florida currently exceed the national average. Florida's housing market will stabilize at a new normal. Higher prices and high interest rates in the housing market have led to an increase in inventory over pandemic lows. And in 2024, the Florida Chamber Foundation expects the active listings to remain high, but not see significant increases, leveling off at a new normal. Catch these words: new normal. Similarly, median house prices are not expected to decline, but will also not see the same rapid spikes as in recent years. The median listing price is predicted to be $415,000 to $450,000, and the median rental estimates will be in the range of $1,450 to $1,650 per month. Florida will see 100,000 to 150,000 new jobs in 2024. The trend of slowing job growth experienced over the last few months of 2023 will persist this year. Overall job growth for 2024 will be between 1% and 1.5%. Slowing growth or even declines will be permanent in the professional business, services, financial activities, information industry, while high growth will occur in the education and health service industry. Florida's population is expected to grow by another 225,000 to 275,000 net new residents in 2024. This growth, while still positive, is slower than the growth what was seen last year. The demographics of Florida's populations are going to shift as Florida sees higher growth for ages 70 plus than in the ranges of 20 to 65. Population declines for those ages 9 and under, ages 25 to 30, and ages 50 to 60 are creating further gaps in the talent supply as essential working age populations leave Florida. Well, there you go. That's not all of it, but I touched on some of the more important information, I think. Country songstress Lori Morgan had been booked to perform at the Sharon L. Morris Performing Arts Center. Her show is set for 7 p.m. Friday, March 22nd. Tickets are on sale now and can be purchased at getoffthebusconcerts.com, thesharon.com, or 352-753-3229. Let me tell you, I know what picture you're looking at. That is an old picture. I've seen. How many holes in ones do we have this week? Let's say 3, maybe 3. Otis Campbell, 85, of the village of Pennycamp, bagged his third hole-in-one since October 2023. This one was January 19th at hole number 3 at Mickey Lee Pitch-In Putts. He forgot his putter that day and said, "I guess I'll just need to drive it in the hole." He was golfing with his 3 children when it happened. Well, there you go. You take them when you can get them. Congratulations, Otis, on your hole-in-one. Michael Joseph of the Villages shot his 11th hole-in-one on Tuesday during the Men's Day tourney at Evans Prairie. He used a 9-iron from 113 yards. It was his second lucky ace in a month. Wow, ain't you the lucky dude? Way to go, Michael. Congratulations on your hole-in-one. Al Franchi, or Al Frankie, got his first hole-in-one after 60 years of golfing. He got that on January 27th. At the Marsh View Golf Course in the Villages, hole number 17, 64 yards with a gap wedge. Congratulations, Al. And with Al's, we have a little special video that his buddy took and sent, and I'll play that here also.
All right, Al Frankie, hole-in-one, first in my life. Here we go, just picking it up here.
Congratulations, Al, on your first hole-in-one. Let's read some letters to the editor and see what everybody else is talking about. To the editor, as I read all the various news in the many avenues we are all about to access, there is more crime in the Villages than I ever expected or anticipated. We seem not to do a thing to be proactive about this in the Villages. Our residents don't push to upgrade security features in our communities through the various areas we all refer to as the healthiest hometown and
the Village's friendliest hometown.
Do you or does anyone still believe that these days? Know who your city and county commissioners are, know who your judges are, know who your school board members are, and check all these persons out before you vote. We need police reports on rentals, B&Bs, new homeowners. It might just help. More of my 2 cents. That's sent in by Pauline Fitzpatrick from the village of Osceola Hills. Thanks for sending that in, Pauline. Appreciate it. To the editor. Golf cart speeds are very much exaggerated. The so-called fast ones do not reach 30 miles per hour. However, 25, 26 miles per hour is 95% of the fastest that they'll go when they're speeded up. Most of the time, that speed is only used to safely pass under speed carts and bikes on the paths that are on straightaways with safe vision to do so. That's sent in by Bill Harris from the village of Hawkins. Well, I agree with Bill. This so-called sand golf cart just fly by me. That's exaggerated. Somebody going 30 and 35 in a golf cart. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying there's 1 or 2 out there that doesn't do that. But 95% of them, no. To the editor. The chip ID for the residents to maintain the pools for the villages is a wonderful, efficient, and necessary step. Otherwise, our pools will soon be filled with non-villagers. That's sent in by Connie Culver from the village of Chatham. Well, Connie, there's all kinds of things that you can do to limit access. Think about it. First of all, number 1 is cost. If they have to change the gate entrance on one swimming pool, they'll have to change them on all the swimming pools throughout the villages. We residents have to pay for that now. This ain't the developer's pocketbook we're spending money. We're spending our money. Our amenity fees has already went up to close to $200 a month. You do stuff like this, one of these days we're going to be paying $500 a month in amenity fees because of all these upgrades people want to do. I'm saying we have a way of stopping it now, but you got to get the Parks and Recreation and Parks Department, get them to pull their head out of their ass and start enforcing rules there that they're not doing, then they refuse to do. How all that's tied together with selling a home, I'll leave that up to you to figure that out. Yeah. Okay, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I think that's going to be it. But I do want to give a shout out to Papa Pineapples. You guys, if you're interested in drone shots of the villages, especially the newer areas down there, go to Papa Pineapples' YouTube channel. As far as I'm concerned, that's some of the best drone footage of anywhere in the villages. He does it on a regular basis. And a link to his YouTube channel is in the description box below. So go down there and click on that and tell Papa Pineapples I sent you. He does a good job. He's got a decent channel. Thanks, Kentucky. I appreciate it. All you first responders in Kentucky, take care, be well, go home safe. That being said,
don't leave your keys in the golf cart.